Hey, welcome back to the stash. Daredevil and Spider-Man are two heroes bound by tragedy. One defined by guilt, the other by penance. They both fight for the same city, but where Peter Parker seeks redemption through hope, Matt Murdock seeks it through suffering. Their friendship has never been easy. It's been tested, fractured, even broken, but at its core, it's built on this unshakable truth that they understand each other in a way no one else can. And so, continuing our March Without Fear initiative on the channel, I wanted to take an in-depth look at one of the most powerful moments in their history, crafted beautifully by Chip Zdarsky. A story of judgment, redemption, and the unspoken bond between two of Marvel's greatest heroes. So join us today as we go over the time Spider-Man showed Daredevil he wasn't alone. But first, ad time. Comics aren't just stories, they're history. Every single issue is a piece of someone's past, a fragment of their journey. And let's be real, if you're a collector, you know the struggle. Hunting for that one key issue, hoping you don't get outbid at the last second, because when you're in the middle of a bidding war, every second counts. But what if I told you there's a better way? And that's where Encore comes in. It's the place to hunt for rare comics and battle for them in real-time auctions. Instead of vague listings, you get actual videos from sellers showing you exactly what you're bidding on. So not only do you shop for comics, but you also experience the thrill of the chase. Now this is where things get crazy. Bidding on Encore isn't just buying, it's competition. The last-minute bids fly in, the chat lights up with friendly competition, and the tension builds. You could be seconds away from a steal or get completely outplayed. All you have to do is swipe to bid, and if you want to keep an eye on a listing, save it so you'll get notified when there are 5 minutes left. This is what Encore is all about. The thrill of the auction, the fun, intense competition, and scoring amazing deals before someone else snatches them up. Encore also has a ton of free giveaways where you can win comics and collectibles without paying a cent, including free shipping. Just enter, and if you want to increase your odds, invite your friends. Each person you bring gets you 5 extra entries. Now let's talk trust. Encore takes safety seriously. Every seller is ID verified, and if you get something that's not as described, you're covered by the Encore guarantee. Not only are the sellers trustworthy, but they also have fantastic customer service. Don't be surprised if you win an auction and the seller personally messages you to say thanks and let you know you're in good hands. So if you love comics collecting or just bidding wars, check out Encore. It's available right now on iOS and Android. Just use this QR code, my link in the description, or my pinned comment to jump into Encore and start winning great deals on comics today. Daredevil's life has become a living hell, more so than usual, ever since he inadvertently killed a man. And after a long run with the police and the Punisher, a certain war crawler decides it's time to pay him a visit. Matt finally reaches his apartment. His mind is racing, he has no idea what to do except soothe the pain. He pours himself some alcohol to go with the pills and takes a seat. He tries to plan ahead on what actions he should take until his radar sense picks something up, or rather, someone. They're impossibly quiet. Matt's trying to put the pieces together and figure out who's lurking in his space. It can't be the hand. There's a strong heartbeat. Matt can almost hear the figure's muscles tighten, called with incredible strength and control. For he's pure power, and yet he doesn't even know it. The best of them. And he's here tonight in the Devil's home. It's the amazing Spider-Man. He's standing tall, his voice assured, and tells Matt normally he wouldn't be able to follow him, but he's clearly not himself. Matt rises to his feet, but where Spider-Man stands firm, Matt looks the complete opposite. Spider-Man tells him the cold hard truth, that he doesn't know who he is, and he's not just talking about Matt's identity. He killed a man, and Peter admits that he too has been there. It's horrible. It left him searching for himself, forcing him to be better. Better at this, better at what they do. But what did Matt do next? He terrorized his own neighborhood, he fought cops, and Spider-Man just came from his latest sloppy fight, where their friends had to bail him out. Spidey doesn't sugarcoat it. Matt's a mess, he's trouble, he's on a suicide mission. And so with that, Spider-Man makes his judgment. Daredevil is done. They can't do this job forever. One day, they'll make too many mistakes that lead to more people getting hurt than saved, and Peter hopes, prays even, that when his time comes, someone will step up and tell him. And right now, it's Matt's time. It's over. In fact, Peter is going to spread the word. If any of them see Daredevil out there, they'll stop him. They have to stop him. Because if they don't, he could be the end of them all. Peter keeps talking, pushing and driving his point home until Matt cuts him off, telling him to stop. He places his glass down. Their eyes lock. The severity of the situation sinks in even deeper. Matt admits it. Peter's right. He knows he's right. For Matt's been searching for an answer, and he thought the answer was to push harder, to be more relentless, to ignore what his body, what his heart has been telling him. But he can't do this anymore. Slowly, Matt reaches for his mask. He holds it steady in his hands, fully feeling the weight of everything that comes with it. And then he tosses it to Spider-Man, as the words of Father Cathel ring throughout his mind. God loves you, Matthew. Hold on to that, and do the right thing. Renounce this violence. Cast out the devil. Things only continue to get worse. After saving Hell's Kitchen, his home from total destruction, Mayor Fisk orders the arrest of Daredevil. But luckily for Matt, there's always one person by his side, his best friend, Foggy Nelson. Foggy has managed to strike a deal with the DA, after stating that his client Daredevil will only turn himself in on certain conditions. Matt heads home, maybe for one of the last times. He knows Foggy is right, too many people have died already. But suddenly, once again, his radar sense picks up another presence. Matt knew he'd come back, because that's the problem with men in masks. They're unwavering, committed. Spider-Man stands firm, reminding Daredevil that he told him if he put that mask on again, he'd return, and now he's here to take Matt in. But to Spider-Man's surprise, Matt doesn't resist. Instead, he starts undressing. As he strips off his clothes, he calmly speaks. He tells Peter that he wasn't there. Hell's Kitchen was on fire, and he saved it. Peter is too late, again, because Matt is already turning himself in. Therefore, Spider-Man, he's here for nothing. Peter yells at Matt to stop. He launches into a lecture, telling him again why he should have stopped being Daredevil. How he could still help people without the mask. How wearing it will only ruin everything, for him and for all of them. But before Peter can even finish, Matt cuts him off. He says it one more time. He's turning himself in. But no matter what, he's Daredevil, and Peter is not his moral authority. He wraps the fabric around his knuckles, pulling it tight, deliberate and controlled. The hesitation is gone, the uncertainty is gone, and in its place is only Daredevil. Fully suited up, bathed in shadow and moonlight, he stands firm, his voice is cold and unshaken, pointing out that Spider-Man has put as many people in the hospital as any of them, yet Matt doesn't see him being fingerprinted. The tension is suffocating. Matt adjusts his gloves, his fists still clenched with a final warning. He tells him to get the hell out of his home, before he calls the cops. His silhouette looms against the city lights, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Spider-Man stands still, his mask hiding whatever emotions might be creeping through, but Matt can hear it. His muscles tighten, his heart rate rises, yet his breathing is steady. He's preparing for something, but Matt is prepared. He clenches his fists even harder, the fabric of his glove stretching as he tightens his grip. Matt tells Peter he broke in, he entered, he's a criminal, and for the first time, Spider-Man hesitates. In his mind, he weighs his options, and so Peter, with his voice low, edged with warning, calls Matt a real piece of work, and tells Daredevil if he's lying, he'll be back. With a single bound, Spider-Man leaps through the open window, disappearing into the night. His words linger in the air, filled with tension. Daredevil stands there, tiredly, thankful that Spider-Man didn't fight back. The room is completely silent, until he gets a call from Foggy Nelson, requesting Matt to meet him at the courthouse. Daredevil moves through the night, leaping across the rooftops of Hell's Kitchen. If this is the end, if this is how it all ends, then it will be on his terms, as God intended. But soon after he's made it inside, the district attorney isn't just furious, he's betrayed. He needed to know who was behind the mask, he needed to know who he was really sending to jail. And the revelation of Daredevil's identity shakes the entire room. Hawkbird's rage boils over. He slaps Murdock across the face. Ben is completely seething. He exclaims about how Matt worked for him, for his office as a prosecutor. Matt tries to apologize, yet no words can make up for what the DA is feeling. Murdock then reminds him why it's important for his identity to stay a secret, for every case Matt Murdock ever touched could be overturned. And so, with a cold, unwavering stare, his decision is set in stone. Matt Murdock's fate is sealed. Over the next few days, Foggy works tirelessly for his best friend, and with him working his magic, Daredevil avoids staying behind bars before his trial. On the courthouse rooftop, Matt and Foggy share a hug. Foggy tells him everything will be okay, and Matt agrees, because he plans to make sure of it. With a swift motion, Daredevil leaps from the rooftop, billy club in hand, moving through the air with effortless grace. But as he vanishes into the city, Foggy's strategy reminder falls on deaf ears, and so Foggy must make his call. Later that night, Matt and Foggy strategize, trying to build his defense. The case against him is severe, it's first-degree murder. But there's a chance to fight it, to prove he never intended to kill him. But then suddenly, Matt's radar sense picks up a familiar heartbeat. A scent he knows all too well begins to linger in the air. Matt's jaw tightens. It can't be. Foggy wouldn't let her come here, he tells himself, and yet the door swings open. And standing there with suitcase in hand is Kirsten McDuffie. All the memories that now feel like a lifetime ago come rushing back for Matt. He loved Kirsten. He still does. When the world knew Matt was Daredevil, she was there for him. She was everything to him. But unfortunately, when the Purple Children made the world forget who he was, they also made Kirsten forget. Matt constantly tries to reassure himself that what he did was the right choice. That Kirsten was better off without him, because the people he loves end up dead. The people who know his secret end up dead. And he believes that anyone with a conscience would have done the same. And now with Matt's life as a free man in the balance, Foggy has done the unthinkable. He's brought her back into Matt's life just as it's over. Kirsten tries to get Daredevil's attention, but his mind is already elsewhere. This has rattled him far too much, and so he decides to call it a day. Foggy agrees. There's no sense in burning out. They still have 8 more days until the trial. He sets the next meeting for 9 o'clock tomorrow. As Kirsten leaves the office, Matt sits there, silent with his mind racing. And just as Foggy is about to speak regarding their efforts today, Matt cuts him off and says straight to his face, "Fuck you." Foggy freezes, looking right at Matt perplexed, but Matt stands his ground, asking him how could he do this, for it broke his heart to leave her, and then he... But this time, Foggy cuts Matt off, stating how he wasn't the victim in that situation. Matt argues he was protecting, but once again Foggy jumps in, finishing his sentence, protecting his ability to run around as Daredevil. Foggy doesn't stop there. He tells him that he broke her heart, and he is sorry that seeing Kirsten reminds Matt of that. But she's the best lawyer they know, and they need all the help they can get. But Matt doesn't care, not right now, and leaps through the window without saying a word back, as Foggy yells out after him, telling him that he needs people. Daredevil glides through the air, going from rooftop to rooftop, trying to process everything. He knows he shouldn't have lashed out at Foggy. He knows that Foggy was right, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. Everything he's been through, everything he's endured, it all feels heavier now. And then seeing Kirsten again was like a punch to the gut. Just when he starts to accept his life as Daredevil, he's reminded of everything it cost him. And that's when he senses someone else nearby, another person watching from the rooftops. Elektra. Of all the people, she's the last person Matt wants to deal with right now. But of course, she doesn't care. She calls him out with a sharp, teasing tone. But Matt doesn't have time for this, and makes it very clear. Yet she doesn't care. She accuses him of falling on his own sword, of being blinded by his own guilt. He fires back, defending himself, saying he's turning himself in because it's the right thing to do. But Elektra doesn't budge. She poses the question of while he's rotting in prison, how many lives will be lost? People he would have saved by being on the outside. Elektra continues, calling Matt's selflessness a mask of his true selfishness. His jaw clenches. He doesn't trust her. Not after what she's done, not after what she took. But Elektra argues it wasn't just for her. She stole that money for the both of them, for something bigger. And then she reveals that the Hand is back, stronger than ever before. They have a new leader, a new plan in motion. She's been preparing for a war, and like it or not, he was always supposed to be a part of it. Elektra needs him, but Matt doesn't want to hear it. Hell's Kitchen was burning, and where was she? He tells her he only has days left as a free man, and he's going to spend them doing what actually matters. Helping people, not fighting her ancient war. He turns his back on her, leaping away from the rooftop. And just before he disappears, she calls out to him, throwing a lead right into his lap. For there's a meeting taking place that very night, and immediately, Matt listens. We then cut to that exact meeting. Wilson Fisk sits at the head of the table. His presence alone dominates the room. He admits he was distracted. He allowed himself to be. But that time is over. Those at the table shift in their seats, some uneasy, some curious, and wondering what all of this means. Is Fisk going to do damage control, or is he taking back his throne? Fisk remains calm and measured. He reminds them his responsibilities as mayor still comes first. But his patience is long gone. He expected them to manage their territories, to run the city in his absence. Instead, they let greed take over. They let chaos reign. But one man in particular has something to say about that. Hammerhead. He throws out excuses, blaming it all on the owl, and then Hammerhead continues to poke the bear even more as he demands for a better deal. But Fisk doesn't care. Within a blink of the eye, Wilson Fisk grips the back of Hammerhead's skull and slams his face into the table. The room flinches, but Fisk isn't done. He slams his head again, physically and verbally embarrassing Hammerhead. Then another slam. The sickening crack of metal against the wood echoes through the room. Blood splatters across the table, across Wilson Fisk's face, but he still isn't done. One final slam, harder than the rest. Fisk's voice is like thunder. The room is frozen. No one breathes, no one speaks. Fisk straightens himself, adjusting his suit, completely unfazed by the carnage he just caused. For enough is enough. They need a new leader, a real leader, a worthy successor. He would gladly reclaim that role, but he won't, because the city needs him. His duties are higher now, and so, with blood still fresh on the table, he makes a new decree. The one person in this room who proved themselves, the only one with the nerve to take action when it was needed, Izzy Libris. And so he now declares her the new kingpin of New York. The others must pay tribute. The others must fall in line, because Fisk said so, and when Wilson Fisk speaks, the city listens. The council is still reeling from Wilson's display of dominance when the room is suddenly torn apart. The vault door, torn right off its hinges, sends a shockwave through the room. Debris scatters across the floor, and standing in the wreckage is Daredevil. The crimson figure looms in the destruction. Bathed in shadow, billy clubs clenched in his fist. Old Kingpin, new Kingpin, it doesn't matter. He'll topple them all. Wilson's expression barely changes, though the weight of the moment is clear. He makes his usual measured quip, making note of how destruction of private property isn't the smartest move for a man with a trial date. But Daredevil doesn't care. He steps forward, with his gaze unwavering as his voice carries through the dust and chaos. He's not here to negotiate, not here to plead. He's here to make something very clear. He's listening, he's watching, and even from behind bars, they won't be safe. He warns them as one of Fisk's men makes a move. His hand is inching towards his gun, but Daredevil strikes first. A sickening crunch echoes as the gunman's hand is shattered in an instant. Daredevil catches his billy club and leaps forward with Wilson Fisk towering over him. The air is thick with tension. Fisk glares down at Daredevil, but Daredevil stares back, unfazed, with his next words being a promise. He's going to make their lives all hell. The council scoffs, calling it a hollow threat, believing that once he's in prison, he's done. But Daredevil smirks and admits maybe. But Daredevil isn't alone. From the shadows, another figure lingers. High above the chaos, perched in the corner of the ceiling, strands of web draped around him, the amazing Spider-Man watches. He's not here to throw punches, he doesn't need to, for this is a warning. Daredevil might be going behind bars, they might think they've won, but someone will always be there. Someone will always be ready. And even if they take one devil off the board, another stands in his place. Daredevil admits, for too long, he's spent his nights beating down low-level criminals, men with nothing to lose. But those days are over. Now, he's coming for the real threats. A loud boom fills the air as smoke swallows the room. Fisk and his people cough, shielding their faces, and through the haze, Wilson Fisk grows with anger. Daredevil is gone, but his vow remains. Outside, the rooftop is quiet, save for the distant hum of the city below. Daredevil lands effortlessly, his silhouette cutting through the misty skyline. Across from him, Spider-Man sits on the water tower. Peter makes note of how he tried to be dark and menacing back there, and Daredevil thinks it helps. Honestly, anything that makes them second guess is enough. Plus, Spider-Man tearing a vault door off its hinges is bound to scare most of them. Peter shifts his tone, and then asks the real question. Why him? Why reach out after everything? They haven't exactly been on the best of terms. Matt takes a breath, collecting his thoughts, and then explains. He explains that this life doesn't come with a guide, no rulebook or no clear path, but rather just their own instincts, their own sense of right and wrong. And after everything, after all the mistakes, all the pain, there are still some things that need to be made right. One of them being fixing things between the two of them. He doesn't want to go to prison with unfinished business, especially not with a friend like Spider-Man. Peter hesitates. For a moment, it's like he's weighing every word before he speaks. Then softly, he apologizes. He knows he's been hard on Matt. Too hard. He never gave him the benefit of the doubt. And the truth is, he understands more than he's ever let on. His voice lowers. Because this was something that changed who he was forever. A mistake he once made, a moment of recklessness, a punch thrown in the heat of battle, one that should have never landed. He remembers the shock, the horror, the weight of knowing he'd crossed a line he swore to never cross. Peter's voice wavers. He admits this is something he's never told another soul. A truth that's been buried beneath years of guilt. He wanted to turn himself in, to pay for what he'd done, to stop pretending everything was fine. But he didn't. And when he looked at Matt, saw the same torment, the same self-destruction, it was like looking in a mirror he was too afraid of staring back at. His anger, his judgment, it wasn't just for Matt. It was for himself. His words falter, his mask hides his face, but his body language says everything. And Matt doesn't hesitate. He reaches out, pulling Peter into an embrace. There are no words said, just two men, weighed down by their sins, finding solace in the only people who could ever truly understand. We talk for hours. We talk about our fears, the things we've done, lives filled with regret. We talk and move through the city we both love, the city we try our best to help. A city that sometimes doesn't love us back. Foggy was right. I need people. All the people I can get. I should thank God and feel blessed that He's given me the best people.